Hello and welcome back to Tell Me Your Ghost Story podcast. I'm your host, Kassie Askin, and here with me is my very special husband co-host, Spencer.
Hello.
And it is the Halloween special, Mother Freakers. Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. If you don't, I don't care. I'll pull down your underwear. This is simply true and a fact that I will pull down your underwear if you don't give me something good to eat. So it's kind of your choice. Kind of the ball's in your court. But let's address the elephant in the room first. To audio-only listeners, we are dressed up for the occasion. Spencer, can you give us a little rundown of our costumes right now?
Right now, I'm more curious about what's on the menu of what something good to eat. I'm thinking about when you said you'll pull down their underwear if they don't give you something good to eat. But if you said that at a place like a Cheesecake Factory, that's like 30 pages of stuff to choose from.
Wow.
And who's to say what's good and what's bad to eat?
I'll pretty much accept like any steak-based item.
Okay.
That's pretty universally good to eat in my book.
The vegans love eating steak. Okay. Well, we're dressed up as Wimpy the Pooh and Pink Pony Pig.
Yeah, these are the Amazon Prime special Piglet and Pooh Bear costumes. Yeah, season 2, Tell Me Your Ghost Story, you may get the officially licensed Disney costumes. But for right now, season 1, you get the Amazon Prime 1999 special, Wimpy the Pooh and Pink Pony Piglet. So for our Halloween special, we did something very special. We went to Halloween Horror Nights and we stood in those lines. We walked through those haunted houses and we got scared and we're going to review it for you. But before we jump into our Halloween Horror Nights review, I wanted to visit some memories from Halloween's past and share some of our favorite Halloween memories. Spencer, can you please share with us your personal favorite Halloween memory?
Yes. And you know what's really very eerie about this? Something came up in my Instagram algorithm this morning, that completely was in line with my Halloween memory.
Wow.
Which is really, really weird.
Wow.
It's a synchronicity, as they say. My cover band, Sega Genocide, we were hired to play at Olympian Shaun White's Halloween party at his house in the Hollywood Hills. And he was dressed up as Optimus Prime. Maybe this was like when Transformers came out. This was like a long time ago. And he had us learn Mr. Roboto. And then he came out and walked around. His costume was crazy, obviously. And it was really funny because at the time he was dating Sarah Barthel from Fantagram, who was dressed up as Justin Bieber when he had like the white tank top and the like little kind of like puby mustache and the sideways hat and chain. And our drummer kept being like, dude, I think Justin Bieber is here. And it's like, why would Justin Bieber be dressed as himself at this Halloween party? What the hell's wrong with you, dude? Was
the costume really that good? Did she look like him?
It was a fine costume, but he was just really far away from her. Like he was just he was seeing this Justin Bieber apparition very far away.
Wow.
Anyway, okay. So we drank a lot, to the point where we all fell asleep in Shaun White's backyard. Like, no shit. We just you had an episode here about losing time. He was kind of like that, but I know how it happened. And I want to say our bass player lost his keys in Shaun White's backyard too. Mm-hmm. I kind of remember that. Anyway, so we all fell asleep. Like, we were so fucked up. We just straight up fell asleep in a grown man's backyard, but it's like a huge party and there's like all these people there or whatever. So, but my favorite part of the night was we're playing later on and Serena Williams comes up and she wants to sing with us. And she's like, Basket Case by Green Day. And I was like, dude, fucking Serena Williams wants to sing Basket Case by Green Day with us. So I turned to the band and I'm like, hey, dude, let's play Basket Case. And our bass player is like, dude, I have no idea how to play that right now. It's like, oh my God. And by the time I had turned around, she was already gone. And I saw her later in the night. She was like ripping up karaoke. Like she sounded great. Man. And, but anyway, why that came up again today. First off, we may be playing there again this year, which is crazy.
Wow.
I don't think I even told you that
You
yet.
didn't even tell me that yet.
Oh my God, it's been really busy.
Oh my God.
He messaged, but this morning, just scrolling Instagram, somebody had posted Serena Williams in the pit at Green Day is everything. And it was just
Oh, I
her
saw
in a mosh
that.
pit at Green Day.
Oh my God.
And it was like, dude, that is such a weird coincidence, because when you had asked me, you know, do you have any Halloween memories? I was like, man, normally on Halloween, we're so drunk. I don't remember nothing. And then I was like, oh, actually, I do have one good one. Like this is the only one. And then there we are. Isn't that weird? And he hit us up to play again.
Wow. Stars aligning.
Seriously. But yeah, Serena Williams coming up and being like, do you guys know basket case like Green Day? It's like, dude, number one, Serena Williams wants to like do live band karaoke with us. And then number two, she wants to sing basket case. And then number three, you don't remember how to play it? Look, we'll let it slide now because this was years and years ago.
Yeah.
He definitely got some serious shit for like a long time after that. And, you know, deservedly so. But we fell asleep in this man's backyard as vendors, you know?
And he invited you back.
And he invited us back. It did take years. No, we actually played a couple more parties for him immediately after, but that was a long time ago.
I'm afraid they're not going to measure up to yours. But my favorite Halloween memory, I'm actually going to start with a bad Halloween memory that I do think is worth sharing. This was when I was 7 and I wanted to be Pooh Bear for Halloween. We're repeating history right now. Yes, this is not the first time I've been Pooh Bear for Halloween. And my mom got me the officially licensed Pooh Bear costume, and it was made out of like a fleece material. Like this is a little bit warm right now, but the officially licensed Pooh Bear costume was like a lot thicker. And the face part, the hood, had elastic that hugs your face, and it was so hot and uncomfortable. And that would have been an awful experience in itself, but the timing was just perfect that I literally started coming down with the flu as I was trick-or-treating in my blazing hot, fleece, itchy, face suffocating Pooh Bear costume. Like, I was feeling a little off before trick-or-treating, but like, I was 7 and this was one of the best days of the year. Like, I'm not saying anything that could get my trick-or-treating taken away. And I'm not reporting to my mom that I'm feeling sick. But literally, as we're walking house to house, my throat starts hurting. I start getting the flu sweats. My body starts aching. And I'm like, keep it together. We got to get this candy. And I put on the best show of my life to prevent my parents from being like, we got to go home now. You're sick. So the second we get back to the house with all my candy, I was like, Mom, I am so sick. But in my 7-year-old brain, the reason I thought I got sick was the friend that I was trick-or-treating with. She brought over Jell-O jigglers that we ate before we went trick-or-treating. And Jell-O jigglers are like Jell-O that you pour into molds to set. And I can see these in my mind's eye, like so perfectly. It was supposed to be purple, but like I think they put more Jell-O powder than water, or like they didn't put enough water. So these jigglers were like dark black and like powdery. So in my brain, I was like, these jigglers made me sick. And I was like cursing them in my head. The friends that I went trick-or-treating with. But of course, it was in fact the flu. And I missed a whole week of school after that. And I wasn't necessarily in the mood to eat any of my Halloween candy until like a week after. But that was the worst Halloween
Can
ever
I jump
for me.
in?
Yeah.
As a 7-year-old, and now you don't have enough medical training to know that it wasn't the jigglers. When you said, when you started telling this story, what I imagined was one of those tales in Allure where it was like, I was dressed as Winnie the Pooh and, you know, the timing couldn't have been worse. I thought it was going to be that you farted in front of your crush. You know what I mean? But then it was like, oh, I was 7. But you know what I mean? What was that magazine? YM?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
YM,
always
like
had
most
those.
embarrassing. It was always like, you're not going to believe this, but my crush walked out of his homeroom and I had diarrhea, like nasty diarrhea.
No, I actually have one of those that happened on Halloween that you just reminded me of.
Whoa. Well, that's a synchronicity right there.
It really is. So I was dressed up in 7th grade as a fairy, as one does.
7 and 7.
Oh my God. And I was at my locker, and my locker was right next to my biggest crush.
Oh my God.
Clay Williamson. What's up? So I was at my locker and we were talking, and he was dressed up as a football player. Oh my gosh, I can see it so perfectly in my mind's eye. And Emily, my best friend, who's going to be in the future story, came up to me knowing that my crush was Clay Williamson. And she comes up to me and she goes, "You can see your underwear," to me. It was sticking out of my fairy costume.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's really not that embarrassing.
But he heard it, and then he looked over to me and he said, "You can?"
Yeah, but what if that was like, speaking of Winnie Pooh, what if that was a honeypot situation? You had the underwear hanging out on purpose.
It didn't work. Even if it was, it didn't work. Nothing happened.
All right. I don't care. I'm not like a jealous guy.
You're no jealous pig.
No.
An honorable mention, good Halloween memory for me was in 2002 when I was 9. I was Avril Lavigne for Halloween, and I felt on top of the world wearing my dad's tie, and I had a fake little guitar, and my mom let me wear eyeliner, and I reveled in all of my neighbors asking me who I was supposed to be, and I got to be like, Avril Lavigne, look it up. But my number one favorite Halloween memory happened when I was like 18 or 19, and it was Halloween, and my parents and I and my friend Emily, who's like my sister, you may be like, why did she come with you for this? But she did everything with my family. Anyway, we went to my grandparents' house in Huntington Beach, California, because they were about to sell their house and move into assisted living. So we had some stuff to work on there to prepare their house for selling. There was this well-known house in Huntington Beach that was just a street or two up from my grandparents' house. And this famous house in question is like on a normal residential street in a California suburb, mind you. So all the houses are like very normal, very sterile. They all look identical, like tans and browns only. Like you're not allowed to have a unique looking house. But this one house legit looks like a castle. The owner completely renovated it to look like a legit medieval castle, complete with gargoyles, this massive lion statue out front, and he had a trebuchet in the backyard at one point, I remember.
You don't hear that on a podcast.
Yeah. And since my childhood, we had driven past this castle house like a billion times, and I always wondered what it looked like on the inside, obviously. But on this Halloween night, we drove past the castle house and we noticed that it is completely decked out for Halloween, and there's a line of people outside of it, and the owners had set up a haunted house maze inside of the castle house, and he was letting people walk through the castle house. So finally, after years and years, I got to go inside of the castle house. And Emily and I walked through it, and it was then that I found that I like haunted house mazes, and Emily absolutely hated them. The house inside was like completely decorated, super crazy, and they had people dressed up and like popping out and scaring you. But it wasn't that bad, but Emily was terrified, and I have this distinct memory of us following the maze out into their backyard, and there was a pool, and there was a life-size, pretty realistic looking shark in the pool, but it was just completely stationary. And we walk out there and our eyes like meet the stationary shark in the pool, and Emily just like rips this super loud shriek. And I was like, Emily, it's fake. Like, it's a fake shark. It's not moving. And she was like, oh, yeah, okay, you're right. And then she was just like fine again. And then the finale of the whole maze was like you ended up in the master bedroom, and the owner man was sitting on like a king's throne, and he had this giant bowl of full-size candy bars, like the true king that he is. So we took our candy and we returned to my grandparents' house, and I was like absolutely over the moon that I got to finally go inside of the castle house. But in prepping for this episode, I did some Googling of the castle house and actually found out some pretty insane backstory on the owners. The owner's name is Dominic Minaldi. Dom worked in security. He worked a security and bodyguard business that operated in California and Nevada. His past clients included celebrities and even Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. He also did bodybuilding and was known to participate in bear wrestling matches, the last of which was in 1999 when he fought an 800-pound grizzly bear in Hollywood Park.
Wow.
The castle.
Is there a video of that?
I didn't find any.
Huntington truly is like the Florida of California.
Yes. The castle house has made Dom a local celebrity, and he has also made the news several times over the years for battling with the city over the color and several lions' heads and shields that adorned a wall on his property, or the time the house was invaded by rats from a landfill site across the street. It was like something out of the movies, Dom said. They were all over the backyard, on the patio, running out on the street. There was even a large rat hanging off the bird feeder and eyeballing me. It was scary. Dom continued to run a haunted house in his castle house, and I think I must have gone the very first year because it was a smaller thing, like maybe 50 or 60 people hanging out and waiting in line to go in. But as of 2016 and onward, Dom expects upward of 5,000 people to troop through his house, and he and his volunteers plan to hand out 500 to 600 pounds of candy. So allegedly, many years ago, when the castle house was just a house, the house got severely damaged because of a fire, and Dom allegedly got a ton of insurance money, so he renovated it into a castle. Then in December of 2020, the house caught on fire again after his extensive Christmas lights display caused the attic to catch on fire, severely damaging the structure of the house and rendering it unsafe to live in. But at the time that fire happened, he didn't have insurance on his house, claiming that it was too expensive to insure. So he made a GoFundMe with a goal of $200,000, but it only made it to $26,000. But despite missing the goal by a significant margin, it looks like the house has been fully repaired.
Dude, that honestly is crazy that he only got 20,000. I mean, everybody knows that house.
I know, yeah.
That's odd that people didn't give him more money.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something lurking beneath the surface there is all I'm going to say about that. I don't know enough to say for real, but that seems really weird that he wouldn't be able to raise 200 grand if 5,000 people are coming through every Halloween and everybody in Orange County knows that house, and why he wouldn't have insurance when he's clearly starting these fires.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. In Minecraft.
In Minecraft, allegedly, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
tragically, on August 11th of 2023, Dom passed away in his castle house.
Oh no.
He was 59. A memorial was held for him at the castle house.
The bear came back.
The bear came back.
What? How did he die?
I couldn't find anything that said why.
I think he's out there with Tupac.
Friends and family of Dom have said they will carry on the legacy of his Halloween haunted house tradition. That was a way deeper rabbit hole than I had anticipated, but I'm so glad we went down into that hole.
A man with a castle-shaped house who runs a huge Halloween terror maze in his home. I didn't think there'd be any weird story there.
Any documentary filmmakers looking for like a subject, I just gave it to you.
Well, it's a little late now.
Well, they're doing it in his memory. I'm sure his relatives are characters themselves.
Why is he wrestling a fucking bear? What a weirdo. That's your brethren as Wimpy the Pooh. That's
what the
crazy.
hell, man?
Wrestling a bear? Only in Huntington Beach, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling a bear?
The wrestling took place in Hollywood, though.
Okay. Yeah, Holly weird. I'm not into this. I want my money back. Did it cost money to go in the house?
I saw a bunch of Facebook posts from him, and he always says, like, always free to the public, always free. But then on the Yelp page, I did see some people saying it was $10 to enter.
This is a suggested donation.
So he can have insurance on the house, I guess.
He's ruining my Halloween spirit.
Okay, last thing before we get into our reviews, I have a question. Let's say you're trick-or-treating, you get to a house, they hold out their candy bucket for you to take a piece, and they have all the normal fun-sized chocolate candies. I'm talking Snickers, Twix, Milky Way, Three Musketeers, M&M's normal, M&M's peanut, Kit Kat, Reese's. If you say Reese's, I think you should have to take a government-mandated media literacy course.
Wait, that's the question?
No, this is an aside.
Oh, okay.
When I hear Reese's, it boils my blood like nothing else.
Yeah.
Do you say Reese Witherspoon? Reese is not a word. It never has been. And when you say Reese's Pieces, I will actually strangle you.
So,
grow the fuck up.
People say Pieces?
Yes. I've heard it. It's terrifying.
Have you ever heard Reese's Pieces? Like they don't rhyme?
No.
So it rhymes either way.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Okay.
Almond Joy, Mounds, Hershey's Bar, 100 Grand.
Mounds
Crunch Bar.
is not a appetizing name for anything edible.
That's true.
Mound.
Just a mound. That weird little 4-pack of Whoppers all in a line, you know?
Okay.
Butterfinger, Heath, Baby Ruth, the teeny tiny box of Milk Duds. What are you taking first?
Twix.
I knew you were going to say that. And second, can I guess your second?
Oh, that's actually a tough one.
Butterfinger.
Yes, it was Butterfinger.
Of course.
Yeah.
Wait, can I guess your third?
Ooh, I don't even know if I know my third. I think I have kind of a tie for 3 and 4.
Reese's.
No. What?
You don't like Reese's?
You said Reese's.
For the bit.
Oh, I get it now. I do like them, but do you want to know what mine would have been?
Peanut M&Ms.
No. Probably the Whoppers.
Really?
Snickers or Whoppers together.
Okay.
Classic.
Okay. I have to go with Kit Kats. A Kit Kat has never let me down. Followed in second place by 100 grand because 100 grand to me, it has a bit of flair. It's the elevated choice. It's a little on the rare side and it's elegant.
Yeah,
to
you
me.
never see that. I don't even know what that is. That's like a Heath bar. They show up in ice cream
I
sometimes,
see those.
but where are you looking?
On that note, let's officially get into our review of Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2024. This was our first time at Halloween Horror Nights. Several years ago, we went to Six Flags Fright Fest, and we had a really good time there. I remember really loving this one maze. Do you remember the one where like they sent you through like one party at a time, and they gave you a flashlight that like only worked sometimes? And most of the maze was like completely in the dark. And sometimes there'd be like a really quick strobe light and a scare actor would be able to get like right in your face because it was just pitch black. I thought that one was really original.
Dude, that really was crazy. The one, crazy. My favorite one was the circus themed one. And they put you through, I don't know what you call it, one of those halls where you're walking and there's like mirrors everywhere that are spinning around you.
Yeah.
And you like can barely even walk.
Yeah.
But it's also scary.
Yeah.
But that was something. And then also, I loved, they had this like zombie apocalypse one. There must have been like 100 people working on that one. It was outdoors and it was like 10 or 12 minutes long. Those were really good, actually.
They were.
I will get into no comparison, but I will say that the Six Flags ones were really good.
Yeah. But having been only to one and you to two, because you've been to Not Scary Farm before, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember if I went in any mazes.
Okay. So we're relatively new to the Haunted Maze amusement park thing, but a couple months ago, I don't even remember what triggered this phase for me, but I went through a genuine phase where I would watch Haunted Maze walkthroughs on my iPad with headphones on, turned up really loud. It was like my sensory time. And let me tell you, at the time, watching these walkthroughs from the comfort of my own couch, at the time I was like, oh, it's like you're really there. I'm getting the full experience. But now having actually gone and done all of the mazes in person, it is not like you're really there. It is such a different experience actually going through the mazes in person. And that may seem like a really obvious thing to say, but I just have to emphasize what a difference it is and how genuinely scary and fully immersive these houses are. Like watching them on my iPad at my house, I don't feel that scared. I just like appreciating all of the scary imagery and the actors and everything. So like before going into these houses, I was like, I think I may be pretty good and not that scared. And I may be kind of unaffected in these houses, but that was simply not the case. I was scared and I screamed and I clutched your hand really hard. That being said, I do still really like watching the walkthrough videos, and I have to shout out the YouTube account that is hands down the best at posting these walkthrough videos. And please take it from me, I watched a bunch of these a while ago from all different accounts, but the account is called Attractions 360 Degrees. He's the best. Shout out. He's got a steady hand. He takes his time through the mazes, and I love him. Okay, so let's get into it. The first maze we went through was the Weekend Nightmare Trilogy. Now, we are not necessarily the Weekend fans. However, this did not hinder the experience at all. But I did reach out to my friend Juliana. Shout out, girl. Hi, thank you. She's a big The Weeknd fan. So I reached out to her and was like, what's the lore here? Like, why does The Weeknd have his own house? And she explained that he's a big horror movie guy. So for his album After Hours, he did a lot of horror imagery in all of the music videos. And those music videos did really well. So he just kept it up, and now all or most of his music videos are horror themed. So there's the connection. And thank you to Juliana, because I had never seen a The Weeknd music video before. So it felt kind of random to me, him getting his house. But now I get it. So the setting in this house is kind of like a nightclub. There's several really cool looking rooms that you walk through. One hall you walk down has a cutouts of paparazzi taking photos of you, and there's like a bunch of strobe lights. And there's another room that's covered in dollar bills, and there's a dollar bill monster guy who gets you. There's a dark room with a bunch of glowing eyeballs in it. There's an eyeball girl monster that pops out, and she has like Medusa-like snake hair coming out of her eyeball head. There's a hotel room scene where a plastic surgeried out girl monster jumps out. There's one room that was like a hall of mirrors. And of course that sets them up for like such a good scare, even though you're like so anticipating it. But they got me so good in that hall of mirrors. Do you remember that? Like this like creepy ghost lady thing came out of nowhere. And she got like right in my face. And I screamed so hard that I actually hurt my back. I did have to take Advil
on
after
Maze
this house.
1.
Maze 1, I injured myself. Anyway, a through line that happened throughout all of these rooms is that the weekend just keeps getting murdered over and over by crazy monsters. And there was like a little mini me the weekend that would
There were many of them.
Yeah.
Like little baby the weekend. But still with the mustache or whatever he's got.
Baby the weekend would just come out of his dead body.
Yeah.
Honestly, I loved it. And I thought all of the monsters were really unique and cool looking. They got some really good scares, and I thought the whole thing was just really original. And again, I'm not even a The Weeknd fan, so like I can't even imagine how cool this must be if you're a Weeknd fan.
I want to say that as someone who is not a The Weeknd fan, I think it added to the experience because they were just constantly murdering The Weeknd. And I thought that was so funny. But obviously he's into it because he came up with it. But it like that music coupled with like, you know, him getting sawed in half and then like a baby shooting out of him, like a baby version of himself, is like super funny. You know, it's very, I can't remember the name for that. I don't know enough about horror movies. Not House of a Thousand Corpses. Evil Dead. Mm-hmm. You know, where it's like horror, but it's like supposed to be funny too. Yeah. Like this definitely felt like that with like all the disco music and like they're all like dancing and shit, but they're like, you know, sawing people apart. It was cool, dude. Yeah. I really liked it a lot.
So we love this maze, but I did not love his signature cocktail. I got the Too Late drink, which had tequila, peach, lime juice, raspberry puree, and a grenadine-filled syringe on top. And that shit tasted like red cough syrup. It was not good, and it definitely did not have a full shot in there. And I paid $18 for it.
The syringe was a nice touch, though.
It was cool.
It was cool.
It was cool. He gets like 1 point.
It looked cool.
Oh, it had a light up ice cube in it too.
Oh yeah, come on, that was pretty sweet for $18 though.
Next up was Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Legacy of Leatherface, and to me, this was the scariest maze. I do not like gore, and this house was all gore. Al Gore.
It was an inconvenient truth.
This maze was to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. I have never seen the movies, but this was a multiverse approach of the franchise, which takes place at the slaughterhouse, which is talked about in the movies, but it's never shown in the movies. Immediately when you walk into the slaughterhouse, they have infiltrated it with the most vile smelling air. And we actually learned about the company that makes these disgusting scents at Midsummer Scream, a horror convention that we went to a few months ago. They're called Froggy's Fog. And at Midsummer Scream, they had like a scent sampler set up where you could smell all of the disgusting scents that they produce. And we sampled them. And I know.
And then we produced our own.
And I know for a fact they used their scent, which is also called Slaughterhouse. And I connected those dots, obviously, because of the name, but also that scent is a scent you don't forget.
I heard this is based off a true story.
The smell?
No, that is definitely a true story. The story, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I told you that while we were walking through the maze and you laughed at me, and I haven't looked it up and I'm not going to.
Okay.
But I still feel like there's some truth that there maybe was like a chainsaw guy.
An inconvenient truth.
Yeah. Do you think that, or you still think that's ridiculous?
I don't think I've ever heard that, but
really?
I could maybe just not have heard
There's
it.
like, you know, there's other horror movies that are based off of true stuff.
And it's like,
I think this is, but it's not like exactly like that, how it happened.
Just like one person killed someone with
exactly.
a chainsaw.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's like something like that. I could be totally wrong, but I don't know why that stuck in my head as we were walking through this. I'm like, I think this is true.
Fact or fiction? This one's fact.
This one's a fact. Yeah, it smelled bad in there, but it was really cool. I loved that one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was so awesome. I'll say
Yes.
that. This one felt most grounded in reality.
Mm-hmm.
This one was not really making jokes.
No.
Although the dialogue, because they have these actors, and all the actors are so good because they have dialogue going through speakers at like regular intervals. So these actors have to be mouthing these things perfectly in time and like making facial expressions and doing these actions, and they nail it like around the clock. It's really super, super impressive. But I love this one. I thought it felt really cool, and the smell was awesome. It was like so real, you know?
It was the most serious.
Yes,
for
definitely
sure.
the most serious. So that's why I thought it was really cool. And it was still funny.
Yeah.
Just because like the stuff they say and the accents and like the masks, you know, they're just wearing like a decapitated pig's head and whatever.
And there's like a million guys with chainsaws, as the name suggests, but they're so loud, and like the sound is actually coming from the chainsaws, and they like get them like right in your head, and it's so loud, and like the set is like a lot of the actors were kind of on platforms above you, so it was kind of like you're like in a pig pen kind of a thing. And one of the guys singled me out in the line, and he just made like he was bopping me on the head. You remember that?
Yeah, you got bonked.
I got bonked
a few times.
Yeah. They really like knew how to single me out. They're really good.
Well, they if you react, they like love. I mean, that's what they're there for. They love being able to scare somebody.
They can spot the weakling in the group, and that was always me, and they were always right. And but you're going through, and there's like dead bodies hanging everywhere. They're on the ground, they're on the walls, they're hanging from the ceiling, and there's body parts everywhere. There's like piles of intestines and skin and heads. And like all the scare actors, they're all like absolutely horrifying, gory, and bloody. And at one point there was an animatronic. Do you remember that, where he popped out of a box and he squirted water out of his mouth?
I don't remember that.
I got sprayed. It was probably on my side.
I remember getting sprayed a few times, but I don't remember that one specifically.
Yeah. So for those reasons, I'm out. And that was the scariest house for me.
Did you like it though?
I did like it.
That was one of my favorites.
When I was in there, because it was so serious, I was like, not for me. But like looking back, like I appreciate it now.
Those were the first two that we did, and I was
Yeah.
like, these two are divine.
Stellar.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, I really figured this weekend one was going to be, I don't know why I assumed just because it was like a, celebrity endorsement popcorners featuring Katy Perry thing. It was going to be just like a throwaway, but it was awesome. It was so good. And then the next one was awesome too. So I was like, dang, maybe they're just all really, really good.
We'll find out.
Well, I guess we will.
The next one was Dead Exposure, Death Valley. In this maze, you enter a government facility based in Death Valley where an experiment to create super soldiers has gone wrong, turning people into radioactive zombies. The first scene is like a white government truck that has warning signs on it that it's carrying radioactive materials. It's crashed through a barbed wire fence and into the facility. You then pass through the security clearance room where you find out that every employee there is either dead, being killed, or has turned into a zombie. Now, these zombie actors had their faces painted like it wasn't a mask, which to me is so much less scary than masked actors.
For sure.
So this one was the second to least scary.
I
for
will
me,
say
think.
though, this is the only one that I got scared on.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So this guy, as we're walking in, they have like, I don't know, like an usher, somebody who's like dressed in character of the thing, like making sure people enter and like holding people if it's too full or whatever. And this guy was standing at the front, and then we walk in and he just shows up again where we are, and he pops out. Like, he really got me really good. Like, really, not even in the maze yet. Like, just as we're about to enter the maze, and he like really, he totally got me so good. I just like absolutely was not expecting him. He came out of nowhere, and it was funny because this maze was not scary at all, and he was not even like a scary looking character, and
just like a plain
but
clothes.
It was the only time, and I was like, dude, he did so good. He really got me. So
Shout
gotta
out.
give it up to that guy.
So then you continue on through this facility and you find out there's a primate testing room here, which has also been zombified, if you will. And I love these little guys. They're just like little animatronic chimps that had like exposed brains. And apparently for the first weekend of Halloween Horror Nights, there was a scare actor in that room in a gorilla costume.
Oh, wow.
But it only appeared for the first weekend and then it was replaced by a scare actor that just had like a normal zombie.
Why?
Nobody knows why. Anyway, then there's a cold storage room with a bunch of dead zombie bodies in it. And it was actually very cold in that room, which was a really nice touch. Then you continue on through storage rooms and there's like radioactive material and there's black lights making everything glow and there's zombies popping out everywhere. And the final scene is 3 skeletons with like glowing radioactive material on them. And it's just like on like a little conveyor belt thing.
Don't put a black light on that glowing, on that material, on the glowing goop. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, hell no. But once you go into that little final room, they just kind of come at you, but like not very fast. So the end was just like a little anticlimactic to me, but I did like this maze. It was probably one of the least scary ones, and it kind of felt like a filler maze. But I did like it. I do think it was a unique and cool, more thoughtful way to do the zombie thing. It wasn't just like a normal zombie thing. I like the idea of the
I think it took
room.
another like 45 seconds to think about. It's like, oh, we got to do a zombie one. Like, how'd they end up being zombies?
Yeah.
It's like, let me roll some dice. Well, maybe these primates were trying to join the Air Force. Okay.
So the next house was Universal Monsters Eternal Bloodlines. In this house, you follow Saskia Van Helsing, daughter of Abraham Van Helsing, who killed Count Dracula. Count Dracula's daughter then avenged her father's death by killing all of Abraham Van Helsing's male descendants. So now, Saskia is avenging the death of all of her brothers by killing Dracula's daughter, and she's going to have some help from other Universal female monsters, which were the Bride of Frankenstein, the She-Wolf, and Ankh-Su-Namun from The Mummy. And our main character, Saskia, does get killed at the end, which I kind of liked.
I didn't notice that.
She got her head cut off. By Dracula's daughter.
Oh.
I had to watch a walkthrough too.
I was going to say,
gather.
I didn't get any of this from that. All I got was, I did see Bride of Frankenstein and a She-Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And all this other shit sounds like the I'm My Own Grandpa song from the Stupids. What the fuck are you even talking about?
Yeah.
Who are these people? But it was a cool maze.
It was cool. But then as you're exiting, randomly, there was Frankenstein on stilts. Remember him?
Oh my God, yes! I forgot it was that. I forgot it was this one. Dude, best single scare moment of the entire park.
Yeah.
The huge Frankenstein.
This huge
out of nowhere.
Frankenstein.
This maze was not scary at all. Mm-hmm. This was just like, oh, these are cool. Like, these costumes look cool. And like this story, no one knows what's going on like when you're in there, but they're like saying some shit. Mm-hmm. Cause it's pretty light. I think that I remember, was this the one where it's
this was the least scary one.
Well, but it was not very scary because it was so light inside.
Oh, yeah.
Like this one, like all the lights were on.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you see Bride of Frankenstein and it's like, okay, yeah, cool. And like Van Helsing just looks like Hunger Games girl.
Yeah.
It's not like scary shit and the lights are on.
This one was like
But Frankenstein fucked you up, dude.
This was like one of those houses that's like kind of different. It's like built up of a series of short scenes that are like replayed by the actors as you walk through, which is like a different kind of house. It's like focusing on the storytelling.
It's kind of like an old school Disney ride.
Sure. All of the actors were super, super good. And in my head, it's more like a display of cool characters and costume design and acting. But again, there were a few good scares in there, but definitely was the least scary of the maze.
Until the end.
Yeah.
Dude, that propped it right up. I remember leaving and being like, that was so awesome.
Huge Frankenstein.
It changed the whole trajectory.
He got me really good.
Yep.
But something I realized only as I was reviewing all of this to record was it's a little bit strange to me how this was like, yeah, cool. It's like a female monster's house. Yeah. But 2 of the female monsters just don't have names. It's Dracula's daughter and the Bride of Frankenstein. So, like, couldn't they just have given them names, like invented new names, even if just for the maze? Like, even if it's not canon or whatever, can we just give them names?
So Dracula's daughter is a vampire?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I love the female representation, but this felt very invented and written by a man because they didn't have names. And I did look into the actual movies, The Bride of Frankenstein and Dracula's Daughter. They're both movies. And in the movie The Bride of Frankenstein, she doesn't appear to have a name at all. And in The Daughter of Dracula, she does have a name, and it's Myra. But in all the promotional material, they're just called The Bride of Frankenstein and Dracula's Daughter. In The Bride, a 1985 movie about the Bride of Frankenstein, she's named Eva. And in 1988's Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, the Bride of Frankenstein is featured, and she's named Repulsa.
I like the name Repulsa.
Yeah.
Okay, consider this, though. Myra, Steve Urkel's girlfriend. Imagine, like, we're promoting this vampire movie, and it's like, guys, get a load of this. You're going to be so scared. Myra is here.
They could introduce her as Dracula's daughter, Myra.
Yeah, that's totally true. In the promotional materials being like, here's Myra. Is it frightening? Even like was Bride of Frankenstein supposed to be frightening? Do they like kill people?
At the time, maybe.
What do they do? It's because their hair is tall?
Sure. They grow really tall and jump out of a dark, scary corner at the end of a maze and scare you. But anyway, Slash did all the music for this one. And he's done music for Halloween Horror Nights 6 other years in the past as well. And just saying, they could have gotten Orianthi to do this. St. Vincent, maybe. Nancy Wilson.
That is an incredibly good point.
Thank you.
Orianthi could have definitely come up with stuff that sucks as much as what we listen to. Easily. It would have been no trouble at all for her.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding. But that's super funny. I didn't think about that at all. Yeah. It's actually not funny. That's totally what they should have done.
This was written by a man.
Well, it sounded like Slash. No, it was cool, but it was like very, it's like generic hard rock, dark music. Like it didn't have to be Slash. That's cool. They got Slash. It's like a name, but they should have used Slash not on this maze.
Yeah, throw him on another one.
You make a super good point.
It should have been Orianthi or St. Vincent.
Jennifer Batten.
Wilson. There you go. Bunch of other people.
There's tons.
But I did like this one, and a super cool bonus fact about this maze that I only learned after the fact was that this maze was inside of Soundstage 12, which is where a bunch of movies have been filmed since it was built in 1928, including some of the horror movies featured in the maze. Dracula, Frankenstein, and The Bride of Frankenstein were all filmed in that soundstage.
Wow. That's really cool.
As well as the first 17 seasons of The Voice.
I would bet you anything Slash has been in that room. That's probably why he insisted.
Oh, it's haunted by him. Okay, next we rode the Terror Tram. The theme was Enter the Blumhouse, and it featured characters from Blumhouse movies The Black Phone, The Purge, Megan, Freak, and Happy Death Day. Now, we have seen exactly 0 of those movies, and I really only have interest in seeing The Black Phone, but...
Is Happy Death Day where she dies, like every day she wakes up and dies again?
Yeah, and there's inexplicably like a killer with a baby mask.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought this Enter the Blumhouse, that kind of idea would sort of be like... It's like that Sarah Silverman when she's like trying to invent the word Oze. It's like enter the Blumhouse. It's like that's not a thing you can enter. No one cares about. No one knows these movies. Yeah. I didn't know any of that shit. But I know The Purge. I've heard of that one. But do people care about these movies?
I do think so. And despite not really caring about any of them, I did think that this was like a really cool way to do the Terror Tram as opposed to just like one blanket theme that I know they've done in the past. Like last year.
I loved the maze. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I just like thinking about these seem like C-list.
Sure.
I don't know.
People like them.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Last year it was an exterminator theme. 2022's theme was Jordan Peele's Us and Nope, which I would have loved since I love these movies. And other themes in years past have been The Purge, again.
One was Five Guys hamburgers. That was
The Prices.
That one was sponsored by Five Guys.
Dread Time Stories and Titans of Terror. But you just take the tram just a short ways. It's not the full 60-minute normal studio backlot tour. And they show you some clips of Blumhouse movies. And then you get out and walk through like a large open area. And there was stages set up and some tunnels. And they all featured different characters from the different Blumhouse movies. Then there's a couple photo ops, like the Hollywood sign, but it's covered in blood. And even though these are like marked as like photo ops, there's literally employees that are standing there and they're yelling at you to keep walking. So you have to take a walking photo. Also, as we were pulling up to where you get off the tram to start walking, there was ambulance. Why can't I say that?
Emergency cars.
There was, and police cars pulled up beside us and everyone was like, is this part of the thing? And then we got off when we saw a man being wheeled off on a stretcher. He looked fine. It didn't seem like an emergency situation, but he maybe passed out. But
okay, and as he passed, I turned to a staff member and said, "Wow, they really scared that guy, huh?" And the guy looked at me and rolled his eyes so bad.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, why the fuck did I say that?
I would
like
laugh.
That was so stupid that I just said that. You know what I mean?
It.
He was like,
that guy has a problem.
Legit. I was like, oh man, you guys really scared him, huh? Like fucking dude's like in a stretcher. He's got like a fucking
he was
neck or
fine.
something. I mean, he was on a stretcher. He was.
Yeah.
He was fine. He was fine. Yeah, he was fine. Sure, he was fine. They have to carry you out like that.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I'm not saying he was like, it was a joke. Clearly I was joking. But the guy was like, and then I was just like, oh, fuck, dude. Why did I do that? I felt so bad after. Just like, that's such a bad thing to say.
That guy's no fun.
Neither is the fucking stretcher guy. I mean, clearly he can't hang at the fucking amusement parks. Like, geez, can't fucking take that guy anywhere.
Oh, man.
Bring a book, you know? Good Lord.
After the terror tram, we went into Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now, looking online at various reviews of Halloween Horror Nights, people really did not like this house. But
what?
As someone who is really like not into modern remakes such as this house was better than I expected. Going into it, I thought it was not going to be very scary, but I thought it was. I guess that the Frozen Empire story is like some spooky curse is making New York freeze over and it like unleashes scary cold demons and ghosts. I think it's funny how these houses have to like get a storyline across to you because that's really hard to do, right? Like, how do they convey this information that's more complex than just being able to show you in the scene? But this one had like one tiny dark, kind of like a hallway room that you had to walk through pretty near the beginning, and a recording just played over and over, like something like, it was the first time people ever froze to death in New York in the middle of July. But anyway, this one did have a bunch of good animatronics too, bunch of good scares, and it had two kind of tropes, I guess, but without the negative connotation. One is where there's like a lot of mannequins in a room. And in this house, it was people who were frozen at like a long dinner table and you're sweeping the room with your eyes, just trying to find the one real person who's going to jump out and scare you. I really like that. It's effective for me. Two was like kind of goofy looking ghosts and scare actors, like along the lines of Slimer from Ghostbusters. I love when those monsters actually scare you because it's silly, right? Like this huge loud jump scare with strobe lights, but then the thing scaring you looks like Slimer, like a big goofy fat blob looking ghost. I really like that. I feel like people who are more connoisseurs maybe don't like that, but I get a kick out of it.
You would definitely know better than me, but I think, you know, like we talked about with the Weekend one, there's something about like horror and comedy together. So I don't know if connoisseurs would look down on you for that.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they would maybe be cool with it.
Sure. And the actors in this maze, they had the most plainclothes actors in a maze, like not ones that are scaring you, but ones that are just kind of standing in a place and like saying a dialogue. And they were really, really good. And I think that's a really unique and different way to enjoy the houses. It's to appreciate those actors. You loved the one plainclothes actor.
This was my second.
Yeah.
Okay, so number one biggest hit was Tall Frankenstein. Like that shit, undeniable. But number two biggest hit was this guy in like a purple hoodie. You know, he's probably early 40s. Just normal, really normal dude. To the point where when you first see him, I'm like, oh, why is this guy in the thing? Like I thought a dude just like hopped a fence.
I thought it was a
and
guest.
then he's getting shocked, and it's like, oh, okay, he's part of it. But he looked so real because he's just a regular guy dressed like a regular dude. And I was like, oh, that was so rad. Because it was like, maybe there's like some ghost attacking him, and there's like a Ghostbuster person, one of the girls with glasses and curly hair is like trying to figure out how to work her machine. It's like supposed to be goofy. But this guy, it was like, dude, get out of there. You're going to get in trouble. And it's like, oh no, he's part of it.
I was looking at him and then the employee that's like, has the little light up thing, like keep moving along. And I was like, what? And then he like got shocked. And it was like, I get it.
But that was so cool. I love that. Otherwise, I don't know anything about Ghostbusters. Like, I don't care. The maze is cool. Whatever.
The next house was Insidious, The Further. This house had the longest wait time, so I do feel a bit soured by that because we had to wait so long, but it was a good house, and I'm not even a huge Insidious person. I appreciate the film. I think it's important, but it's not one of my favorites. But the red-faced demon, you know, like Darth Maul's brother, he's very scary, so it makes for a very good house. The setting for this one is just a plain old house, and it's playing Tiptoe Through the Tulips right when you enter, which is a prominent song in the film, and it was a creepy, nice touch. This one had the most up close in your face scares. It felt like it was just one after the other. Like Darth Maul's brother was just always in your face. And there was so many hidden hiding places for him. Like there was just like red sheets on the walls everywhere. And I swear he was just in every corner of the rooms. And the rooms were all so small. So he was always just like right in your face. And there were a bunch of framed paintings on the walls. And then he'd just pop out of the picture. And even though you know it's going to happen, it's terrifying. They like the noises and the sounds and the strobe lights are so effective. Even if you know someone's about to jump out, it still gets you every time. And this one had maybe my least favorite room of all, which was the throw up room.
Oh, okay.
Probably your favorite room.
I didn't hate this one. I did like the throw up room.
Yeah, it was a room that you walk through that was decorated as a bathroom, and it had a mannequin throwing up in the toilet, and then they had the freaking disgusting scent in that room, so it smelled like throw up.
Totally smelled like throw up.
And then you had to walk through these curtains, and the curtains were wet. You had to move this wet fabric out of the way. And I tell you, when you're smelling that and then you feel a wet curtain, it's really immersive. And then the next room had another mannequin that was throwing up, and it was playing like the loudest throwing up sounds you've ever heard.
Yeah, this one smelled like peanut butter though.
And at the end, they had this really cool long hallway that you had to walk through, where at first it looks like the walls are solid, but then lights within the walls turn on, and it's like transparent glass, and then the red guy is like standing right next to you on both sides just pounding the glass. They got me good with that one.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
you took really good notes.
Thank you. I did watch the walkthroughs a lot, so my memory got jogged.
You know, it's like Trebek, it's those damn cards. You wouldn't know the answers if it wasn't for those damn cards.
Yep.
No, that's cool. The throw up room, though, really, like, anytime they had the extra smell in there, it's like, that's disgusting. And
you loved it, and I hated it.
Well, I just thought it was such it was like an extra thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I think that's cool when it's like, damn, dude, they really did it.
I think this one, if gore didn't get me so bad, making Texas Chainsaw the scariest for me, this one would be the scariest maze for me. The second to last maze was A Quiet Place, and this maze was really the only maze that had some extra production value in the line of the maze, which I really liked. There were sounds and like flickering lights in the queue, like really flickering lights to the point where it's like I'm walking and the lights are kind of off. And there was like a projection video of a lady like doing sign language, like giving you kind of some backstory of the whole Quiet Place universe. But going into this one, a part that I loved and made me really scared and like so full of dread was that like one of the first rooms that you walked into, it was made to look like you were walking through the woods, and there was like thick overlapping trees on both sides of you. And seeing that I had to walk through that like filled me with so much dread, because I was like, I know there's going to be a man behind every single one of those trees and he's going to get me good. And I was right. And it still scared me. Also, this house had a bunch of crazy animatronics. The alien guys from the movie that have like supersonic hearing or whatever, and that's how they find you and kill you. They had like 5 huge, like 10-foot tall alien animatronics that were all really, really good. And thinking about this maze before I went in, I expected there to be like quiet parts of the maze. And there really was not. It was like a normal noise level throughout the whole house, which I guess I can see why having actually like silent parts of a maze might be really hard to execute. Like you'd probably just hear people all of the maze around. But if that was achievable, I think that would be really cool and scary.
I like this one a lot. I thought this one was super cool. This was probably my third favorite, or maybe my second favorite. Like this and The Weeknd and the chainsaw. But this one was just like the woods looked really cool. And one thing I loved about this one was there's a part where you go in their house, and that felt like really going in a house. Like it felt really real. You're like
going from outside the woods into their house.
Exactly. Yeah. And none of the other ones, I guess maybe it's because there's a scene change like that and you're actually like crossing the threshold. That felt really cool.
Yeah.
I was most excited about this one ahead of time. I don't know why. I just like had a feeling. And then when we did go on it, it was like, yeah, that actually was really cool.
The final house we did was Monstruos 2. The Nightmares of Latin America. This was the house that I was most excited for. Last year they had Monstruos 1, and these houses feature 3 different monsters from Latin America myths and legends. So I really like that it's like based in real life scary stuff. The house starts out with a room that like introduces you to one of these monsters. Then you walk through scenes that involve that monster. Last year they featured the Tolowelpuchi, a vampire witch-like creature that can shapeshift and sucks the blood of infants at night. La Lechuza, a witch that can transform.
So that first one is only scary if you're an infant. Is that?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
This fucking case closed.
La Lechuza is a witch that can transform into an owl.
Okay.
El Silbon, a farmer spirit who became a damned soul after he killed and ate his father. This year...
Okay, that one's not good.
This year, you enter the house, which has a facade of like a cemetery with a sort of skeleton narrator guy who's telling a story. That guy was so good, that actor.
Yeah.
We thought he was talking, but it wasn't. He was like... I mean, I guess he has to do it just all day long, but he was so good.
Still, yeah.
And then you enter the Spanish-style house, and the first monster you're introduced to is El Charro Negro, an evil entity who rides a horse, and he appears to people who walk alone at night as punishment for some kind of moral wrongdoing that they have done in the past. So he's kind of like a collector for the devil. So there's a skeleton horse animatronic that pops out and gets you right at the jump. And then there's this skeleton man with glowing eyes, and he's wearing a traditional black suit, and he's just behind every corner getting you. The next monster is El Cadillo, a supernatural spirit that appears as a dog-shaped creature with blue eyes when it is calm and red eyes when it is attacking. There's a dog animatronic, and his eyes are obviously glowing red because he's attacking you. And you walk through his doggy lair, and the rest of the scarers were like puppets controlled by people, which I thought was like really cool and different. And the last monster was El Cucuy, a child-eating boogeyman. And this monster was my favorite costume of the whole thing. It's kind of like if you took The Grudge and gave her like 200 sharp teeth and made her face super round and made her eyes super big. And she's got like the black, gray, stringy hair, and she like stole the Grudge's outfit. And I just thought she was stunning. So you're walking through a Spanish style house, which was gorgeous. By the way, I want to live in that house, El Cucuy and all. And she's just popping through the windows and coming out of the picture frames and shit. And there's a scene where there's a kid in a bed, and these like huge talon-like fingers come out from under the bed. I love that. And at the end, there's a giant animatronic of her, and you round another corner, and then there's like a Grim Reaper type character. And on the wall, it says death, just spelled out in bones, insinuating that you died. And that was by far my favorite house. Also, all of the scare zones were super cool. There was like a zombie punk zone, a zone with bird monsters and these black raven guys on stilts. And right as you came out of the Latin America house, there was a luchador scare zone. And I thought all of those were super, super well done. And they did get me several times. So all in all, I had an amazing time. And if you are into this type of thing, Halloween Horror Nights is absolutely at the top of the haunted house game. What did you think?
I thought it was great. I think it was awesome. Now that I'm remembering Six Flags mazes, they were really different. They're both worth going to. I think Knott's Scary Farm is jank, so sorry. But if that's what's in the budge and in your time frame as far as like you live close to that one, then cool. You'll have fun probably. But this one, like, man, the actors are really good. And they go so hard doing this shit. And the rides are all open when the mazes are open. So you can just like walk onto any ride. I definitely would pay for the maze pass, even though it's like expensive as hell. Like that Insidious one. First off, I turned the movie off. I don't give a fuck about that shit. I just think it sucked.
You're gonna get some hate for that.
Okay, whatever. Well, I'll turn that off too. I'll stop watching that. It's like that Tyler the Creator thing. It's like just turn the computer off or whatever. Yeah, I didn't think it was good, so I just turned it off. Anyway, but we waited fucking like 75 minutes for this. Yeah. And it was just okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was definitely like a good one. If we waited like 30 minutes, I'd probably be like, wow, that was great. But the Weekend was definitely my favorite, which is crazy. I can't believe I would not have imagined that at all. And then I loved Texas Chainsaw, and I really liked A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place wasn't as scary, I think, because the animatronics are less scary than somebody in a mask getting you. But it was just really cool, and like it felt like E.T., you know, like the woods stuff.
Sure.
The food there is fucking terrible.
Yeah. Not good.
There's nothing you can do about it.
No.
Dude, Simpsons Land fucking sick.
Yes.
We had so much fun at Simpsons Land. Going in Moe's Tavern.
Yeah, that was really awesome.
That was great.
I love that.
I guess the chicken fingers at Cletus's Chicken Shack were fine.
It was a fine chicken
finger. And the Simpsons ride was great.
Oh, I loved it.
I had way more fun than I thought I would at Simpsons ride. Yeah. Nintendo World, very small, and I didn't like the ride. Sorry, guys.
I did not like the Super Nintendo ride. There was just too much going on. I couldn't. It made me feel like what I imagine it feels like to like a boomer trying to play a video game. There was just so much going on, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm winning. I don't know if what I'm doing is affecting anything. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I did love the queue though. Like the land and the queue for the
was really cool.
Ride is amazing.
Yeah.
Like if the ride was even just without the little stupid headset that they project stuff on, I think it would
just
be
riding
better.
around.
Fine. I think my main piece of advice to anyone going is to actually do some research and like try to get the backstory to all the houses, because in researching and like preparing this episode, so many pieces fell together for me. And I think that if you know a little bit of the backstory to all of these mazes, you're going to get a lot more out of it. So that is my recommendation. But in conclusion, we successfully got scared. We will definitely be going next year. We'll definitely be getting the Express Pass next year.
Yeah.
I had the thought that maybe next year we'll go to Halloween Horror Nights, Six Flags Fright Fest, and Knott's Scary Farm, and then rank all 3 amusement parks worth of mazes in order from least to most scary. I'm going to need a lot of Advil next year for my back that I hurt from screaming. But that's all for tonight, folks. Thank you for watching and or listening to the Halloween special of Tell Me Your Ghost Story. Until next time, my friends, good night to all, and to all a good night. Pooh and Piglet out. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Happy Halloween.